Consider Amendment Number 7, printed in House Report 112-283. For what purpose does the gentleman from Tennessee seek recognition?
Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment at the desk.
Clerk will designate the amendment.
Amendment number 7, printed in House Report number 112-283, offered by Mr. Cohen of Tennessee.
Pursuant to House Resolution 463, the gentleman from Tennessee, Mr. Cohen, and the member opposed, each will control 5 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Tennessee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I came to Congress, I was a member of the Tennessee Senate for probably an inordinate amount of years before I graduated to this august body. It took me 24 years to matriculate. But during those 24 years, I worked on much important legislation to help the people of Tennessee. And one of the things I helped the people in Tennessee with is I wrote the Right to Carry bill in Tennessee. The fact is, this was a difficult bill to pass. It was a difficult bill to craft. There were people with different opinions of what should be in the bill. And we debated it, and we went back and forth on what should be in. It took votes, and certain things passed and certain failed, and we came up with a bill that we thought was a good bill. I always felt that people who could take a gun and have enough vision and calmness of hand and hit a target at some pace, not have a criminal record, and pass a written test of a limited challenge should have a right to carry a gun. And in fact, in Tennessee, very few people with the right to carry a gun have committed crimes and used their guns improperly. But the fact is, we worked on this law and we had certain restrictions. And one of the restrictions is you had to be 21 years of age. 21 years of age, the same age that you have to buy a beer or to drink. And 36 other states came to that same decision that you should be 21 before you can get a permit to carry a gun. 8 states have differed. 8 states: Alabama, Delaware, Indiana, Iowa, Maine, Montana, New Hampshire, and South Dakota. So you've got a southern state in there, you've got an eastern state, a couple of Big Tens, a couple out in the Big Sky world, and some in the east. And they decided you only be 18, those 8 states. This bill, if passed, would tell the citizens of those 37 states and the legislators in those 37 states that argued and determined that 21 was the right age, that it would be the right age in your state for the people who are residents of your state, but if there's somebody from one of those other 8 states came into your state and was less than 21, they could carry a gun when your citizens couldn't. Because their state decided 18 was sufficient, your laws made no difference. And you'd have teenagers carrying guns in states that had determined that it was not the appropriate age. 21's the right age to drink, and I'm not submitting it should be less at this time. But the fact is that a brain doesn't really develop to a certain extent until you're out of your teens, and that's why much of the crime and the violent crime is committed by people 18 to 20. They are only 5% of the population, but 20% of the homicides and violent crime are committed by people from 18 to 20. And if you pass this bill, you'll have people 18 to 20 going into states and having a right to carry a gun when the citizens of that state won't have it. That makes no sense. In 2007, the most recent year in which we have data, there were 13,000 people who lost their lives in this country to accidents involving alcohol. But there were 31,000 people, over twice as many, who lost their lives because of gunfire. It doesn't make sense that we would not only trample on the laws of the different states and the works of the legislature, such as me, who worked hard within the legislative bodies, within the give and take of Senate and House and conference committees to come up with what we thought was the policy of our state, to have that overridden by the folks here in this United States House of Representatives, the Senate would be concurring, to pass a bill to say your laws make no difference, and 18 and 19 and 20-year-olds from Alabama and South Dakota and Maine and New Hampshire are going to be able to come in your state and carry a gun when your citizens won't be able to. It should be up to each of the states to decide that. And what we're getting to is the lowest common denominator, which isn't right. So the fact is, these laws should be left up to the states. The states right now can't have reciprocity agreements. Tennessee didn't have one when we passed our bill in 1996, but in 2003 they got one. But the state of Tennessee decided on its reciprocity, not the United States Congress. And states have reciprocity agreements, and they're all going to be overridden. Some are more liberal than others. Tennessee is the most liberal, but other states have got restrictions. They're all going to be set aside because of this. I would hope that the members who come from the 37 states that require your citizens to be 21 would not allow people under 21 to come into your state and have teenagers who are most likely to commit crimes with guns to come into your state with a concealed carry permit. I yield to the distinguished gentleman from Michigan.
Thank you. Your experience in your state legislature and your legal experience really have impressed me that your amendment, and we haven't talked about this today on 822, is extremely important. I hope my colleagues will join with you, and I'm going to, at the proper time, introduce my statement into the record.
Thank you, sir. Has my time expired?
Gentleman's time has expired.
Then I yield back the remainder of my time.
What purpose, gentleman from North Carolina, rise?
I am opposed to the amendment. I rise in opposition.
South Carolina. Gentleman's recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm opposed to this amendment. This amendment prohibits persons who are legally permitted to carry a concealed weapon between the age of 18 and 21 from taking advantage of H.R. 822's grant of reciprocity. We continue to believe, Mr. Chairman, that adults who reach the age of 18, which is the age of majority for well-nigh everything in this country, save alcohol, are capable of being responsible just as 19-year-olds and 20-year-olds are. They can vote, and more importantly, they can serve in the military, where they are highly trained to handle firearms in very critical situations. Fewer than 10 states allow people under 21 to receive a concealed carry permit. One state allows this if the weapon is necessary for a person's job, such as law enforcement, and another if the person gets permission from law enforcement. This amendment eliminates the current practice of many states, including the amendment sponsor home state of Tennessee, of recognizing concealed carry permits of non-residents between the ages of 18 and 21, even though their own residents must be 21 to conceal carry. In fact, 14 states recognize all valid permits issued by any states, including those states that permit persons between the ages of 18 and 21. As many as 10 additional states recognize 18-year-old permit holders from other states with which they have reciprocity. Mr. Chairman, America trusts our brave men and women under the age of 21 to volunteer for duty and to defend our country. What this amendment says, however, is you can carry a gun and defend this country overseas, but you can't carry a gun and defend yourself once you get back. This is not consistent with the Second Amendment, nor is it reflective of our views with respect to what 18-year-olds can and should be permitted to do. What is good enough to defend the foundations of this republic, and us, I hasten to add, should be sufficient to defend
Would the gentleman from
oneself.
South Carolina yield? Would the gentleman yield for question?
Be happy to yield to the gentleman from Tennessee.
Thank you, sir. Based on your argument, and you would think that the laws that the 37 states have that limit gun owner permits to people that are 21 should be abolished. Why does your legislation not go further and trample on the states' rights and say that you can only have a limitation of age 18 and say that you cannot have a limitation of age 21?
The only thing that this debate today has given me cause for celebration for is I now know my colleagues on the other side of the aisle are familiar with the concept of states' rights, because I have not heard them talk about it for the first 11 months. Do you suppose Tennessee should have a different version of the First Amendment, or the Fourth Amendment, or the Fifth Amendment, or the Eighth Amendment? So why are we treating the Second Amendment like it is in the constitutional trash heap?
No, what I'm saying to you, sir, is that your belief is obviously that the Second Amendment is an individual right, so that the states that have laws that say you have to be 21, those laws should be abolished, and we should limit it to 18. For the record, I have talked about states' rights on medical tort liability, and I've talked about states' rights on medical marijuana, and I found nobody on the other side.
Reclaiming my time, the gentleman from Tennessee is right. He has from time to time mentioned states' rights, which puts him in a very lonely position on his side of the aisle. And with that, I would yield back.
Gentleman yields back the balance of his time. The question is on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Tennessee. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. Being the chair, the noes have it.
Please, thank you.
Clause 6, Rule 18, further proceedings on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Tennessee will be postponed.